5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to RiverCity-Media second chance bracket. A little bit of surprise. We're on just a little early, but I wanted to get on early because I got a special friend on here tonight. I want to welcome from the Tennessee Force Elite AAU coach, Roy Pankey. He's going to pick these brackets with me. What's going on today, Roy?
Man, I can't tell you nothing, Randall. Good to be talking to you, brother. Glad to be here.
Oh, man, I'm glad to have you. We tried this on the opening round, but I was still kind of a little under the weather from my accident, so it just worked out. We were able to schedule this up. I'm really super excited about it, Roy. It's been a great tournament to this point.
Yes, it has, man, but I'm telling you, of course, my bracket was busted first day. But still, man, you have to, if you love just watching sports, you love basketball, then you have to be excited about what's been going on out there.
Absolutely. We've seen some Cinderella stories. We got some Cinderella stories still going. But before we get into the bracket, I want to talk a little bit about you, and we'll get into the Force Elite probably at the end of this. But, boy, God's laid something special that you've been able to do lately, Roy, and I'd just like to hear a little bit about it and share it with the audience before we get into the bracket.
Well, yes, man, he sure has. He's, of course, a little over a year ago when I was in the hospital, I had COVID and I was on the ventilator. I was in the hospital for 31 days, and I was actually told that I wasn't going to live. I wasn't told, but they told my son that I wasn't going to live.
Yeah.
And, the percentage is really low when you're on the ventilator. But lo and behold, I'm here talking to you and to many others tonight. Lord has opened some doors for me to go and share my testimony at a few churches. And this past weekend, I was at the lab in Pikeville sharing it. I mean, that's an awesome facility they have over there for sports training. And we were able to go in and have praise and worship. And my cousin Brian Pankey.
Absolutely.
He was there. He sang for us, man. And, we just had an awesome time in the Lord, man, and was able to share what God has did and the miracle that he performed for me. And, I just want to share that, not to say, hey, look what God did for me, but to allow people to see, hey, God is still doing the same thing now. He's still performing miracles. He's still blessing us, and we have to continue to trust him in these tough times. So I'm just anxious and ready to share that message anywhere I get the chance and whenever I get the chance.
And Roy, I had got on a group text with some of your family members through your cousin Phil. And
okay.
Phil, they would send in a group family text out, and every time Phil got it, he'd forward it to me. And the battle that you had, the Lord had to be with you because it got dire at one point. At one point, when I read the text, I text Phil back and I said, I guess in my head I need to say goodbye to Roy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
I think you and a lot of others felt that way, brother, because it was I think that was when my lungs collapsed, and
yes, sir.
It just wasn't looking good. And Phil and Brian, all them, we call each other brother cousins because we were all raised up like brothers basically. But it sent a scare into a lot of people, particularly my family. We had just lost my brother that year unexpectedly, my younger brother, Ray.
Yes.
And so, this thing just kind of hit us, man. I mean, I've been in gyms, I've been doing camps and clinics for 2 years after COVID had hit and not had so much as a sniffle, and then that happened. But, I think God looked at me and said, hey, I'm gonna choose you, and I'm gonna allow this to happen so we can talk about this afterward. And, and when God chooses you, he chooses you, so he allowed this to happen. I don't think God makes us sick at all, but I think he just allowed it because he knew, hey, I'm going to bring you through this, man. I'm going to bring you through this, and you're going to be able to share this with people and let people see that I am still in the miracle working business.
Amen. And we're thankful to have you, Roy, and so many young people that you've affected, and that the Lord's work can be in a church, can be in an AA room, or it can be in a gymnasium. So you do a lot of the Lord's work in the gymnasium.
Right. Well, I'm telling you, man, I'm able to come in contact with a lot of great young people, and a lot of them already believers, and I learn a lot from my kids, whether they're believers or not. But, I'm able to share, and we have a lot of a time where we talk about different aspects of life, different things that are going on with their lives and different temptations. And a lot of times, you know, they don't hold back. They just let me, hey, this is what's going on with me. And then we try to tackle it head on, and we try to say, hey, there's a better way, or hey, you're doing a great job. You know, it's just a opportunity to share with them. And like I said, to see what they're going through. And, you know, man, we're older now. Yep. But when we were young, we went through a lot of the same similar things, but it's at a higher rate now.
Yes.
I mean, you know, it's a lot, it's different. I mean, it's the same, but then again, it's different. We didn't have the social media.
Yes, sir.
Everything. I mean, you know, we could get away with a few things because, you know, there was privacy. Nowadays, there's not any. And so the kids have a lot more to deal with in that regard.
Well, I tell people, my daughter's 13. She knows more about life than I probably did at 18. And also,
I can agree with that.
She knows more about some kind of math that I don't understand, and I got a math degree. So she learned about life and a math. Go ahead, Roy.
I said, I feel what you're saying, man. These kids, I mean, they're smart, but, you know, they're facing so much pressure. And a lot of it's pressure that they put on themselves. And, you know, we're not going to get into all of this back and forth, you know, about different things. But, you know, one of the things that the Lord had actually spoke to me while I was in the hospital when I was out about grabbing the young men again and teaching them what it is to be a young man, what it is to be a man. Because we have so many of the young men nowadays that are attracted to different, what we considered feminine ways.
Yes, sir.
You know, I mean, and that's not to put them down. This is the generation they come up in. But, you know, they you know, a lot of times they like to wear some of the same things, you know, you expect a girl to wear. And they like to wear their hair a lot of times the way you expect a girl to wear it. And, you know, the Lord has a standard for us. And I don't mean that to pick at anybody. I'm not going to put anybody down for how they wear their hair. But what I want and what God wants is for us older ones to reach back and let's pull these young men up and say,
Absolutely.
hey, you know, we gotta know about responsibility. We gotta know about accountability. And we gotta know, you know, sometimes God wants warriors, man. It's not just all about, you know, trying to present ourselves as this holy person, which we should. But what I'm saying is God wants warriors, strong guys that are going to stand in there, soldiers, and fight when need be.
Absolutely.
And,
absolutely.
So God wants us older ones to teach these guys that.
And Roy, we ought to do a podcast on that someday, but we're here. I could go all night on the subject we started, but we're here to pick the bracket.
Me too, brother.
We're here to pick the bracket, which is another thing I love, but I love your testimony. And let's make a plan in the next few weeks to come back and do an hour, maybe just on what you're talking about and how we want to influence the next generation.
Brother, you call me, you let me know when I'm there.
I got you. I got you. So let's talk about our second favorite subject, basketball. And we talked about it just a little bit. Here we sit, going into the Sweet 16. We still have Arkansas. We still have Princeton. We still have a Tennessee team that most people believe would be gone the day one. There's some still Cinderellas out there, but let's start with what I think is one of the Cinderella stories. Thursday night, they open up. Kansas State, a 3 seed, opens up with Michigan State. And I sent you some questions about each game. And let's start there. And the one thing that struck me is Kansas State is so athletic. Michigan State's well coached. But can Michigan State keep up with Kansas State's athleticism?
Well, I'm going to tell you this, man. And, you know, I'm not really a Michigan State fan, but I'm a Tom Izzo fan because he's a great coach. And I think that while they're not as athletic, I think that Tom Izzo has played in enough of these things to know how to grind the game down. And I think Kansas State can actually play that way also. I think Kansas State can play the half-court game. But I think Tom Izzo knows just how to grind it out, and he wants to keep that score a little bit lower. If Michigan State gets out there and tries to run with Kansas State, it's over. They're not going to be able to play that game. But if they can grind it out, if they can get deep into the shot clock, if they can be physical on defense, I think they've actually got a shot to pull it off.
Okay. So in your assessment instantly, the Kansas State guards are more athletic, but to me, the Michigan State guards, when guard play is going to be a lot of this conversation, they're very disciplined, and Coach Izzo has his offense and he runs it, and they're very well versed in that.
Right. Well, man, guard play, this is something that you have got to have, particularly this time of the year. Because your guards, particularly your PG, your point guard, by now, they are a complete reflection of what the coach is. They know exactly what's expected of them. They know how they're supposed to run that team. They know how they're supposed to get other guys into their positions and what's expected. Even though they're definitely outclassed athletically, they have been through the Big Ten, which is a rugged and usually a physical league. So I think that they're going to have a game plan, and they're going to come in and they're going to shock some people tonight. And my pick is going to be Michigan State.
That's where we're going right now.
I could be wrong, but that's my pick. Yeah.
Right now, Michigan State's a 1.5 favorite on the line, 137 total. 7 seed over the 3 seed, and you seem to like the 7 seed and like Michigan State. Is Coach Izzo the biggest factor?
Yes, that's the factor. That is the factor, because they're not going to throw something to him that he hasn't seen before. All
right, let's move on. That's a Thursday game. That's the first tip-off at 6:30 on Thursday. Let's move on to the next tip-off at 7:15. And to me, this is a great matchup, and I think it's a matchup in style that actually, how styles make a game sometime. And I think Arkansas and UConn does that. And our question of the game for you to start with was, Arkansas is so much bigger than everybody in the first 2 rounds. Big physical guys. UConn can answer that. So how does Arkansas fare when they walk on the court, get punched in the mouth the first time, and they look around at 6'9", 250, 6'8", 215? Is it a mental thing for Arkansas to come out and play physical with UConn?
I think, man, that they're probably just going to do what they've always done. I mean, you have to, at this point, man, even though, your strategy may change, you still have to be true to who you are. Even though they are going to probably be outsized this game. UConn's got some size. They've got some rebounders, man. They got some shot blockers. I mean, guys that are just going to be hard matchups. But sometimes it just comes down to grit, man. It comes down to just wanting it a little bit more. It comes down to just, hey, we execute. Let's do what we do. We go out there with no fear, and we can. And a lot of times you'll find out when you're being physical, that size don't always matter. If you can come out and you can show them you're not backing down, that size, a lot of times those guys will kind of wilt on you. I'm not saying UConn's guys will, but a lot of times I'm not going to say be afraid. That might not be the right, but they'll say, okay, these guys are for real, and we're going to have to play. So I think Arkansas just needs to do what they've always done. Just keep playing their game.
Arkansas and everyone in SEC, I felt like coming into this tournament and opening 2 rounds, watching the Big 12 and the SEC, they both seem just a little more prepared for the physical play of the tournament. So
I think so. I think so. They're more physical. Arkansas is just really going to have to attack them. I mean, they can't sit back, because if I haven't watched them much, but I know they don't shoot a ton of threes.
No.
They're gonna have to like I said, grind on them. They're gonna have to attack them, man, and stay physical. And yeah, you're right. They have been. Those are 2 physical leagues.
Line on that's 139.5. UConn a 4-point favorite. I like Arkansas, but for our official pick, I'll turn it over to you, Roy. What are you thinking in this game?
I'm gonna tell you, I won't lie. I'm pulling for Arkansas, but I'm picking UConn.
Okay. I do
UConn.
I do think for those that play like DraftKings and stuff like that, the 4 points is a lot in this game to me, because to me it seems like a final shot kind of game.
It is. It's a lot. It's a lot, man. You're right. And I expect it to be close. I don't think UConn is just going to run away with it. And like I said, I'm pulling for Arkansas. I hope I'm wrong, but I just something's telling me, hey, you got to go with UConn. But of course, man, I picked Virginia to beat Furman. So what do I know?
Yeah. Hey, if you saw my bracket, I played a bracket in the DraftKings, and the first two games that happened, both of my bracket was broke. 2 games didn't make it through the first 2. Had Arizona to the finals.
I picked, we did the Warren Buffett thing.
Yes.
Me and a friend, and we came when we were looking at that game. We were looking at Furman and Virginia, and I told him, I said, man, I really want to pick Furman. I said, I think Virginia's really overrated. I want to pick Furman, but I said, man, I got to go with Virginia just because they're from the bigger conference. And man, was I wrong?
That's one of those you look back and you go, hey, I should have.
Right.
I should have went with my gut.
Right. Well, we were just talking about guard play. Now, Virginia has one of the best guards in the country that made the basically stupid play at the end.
Threw the ball away.
They had a timeout. I mean, think about it. You had a timeout. You could have made a shorter pass. Apparently, he was not thinking. And the only thing that could have happened was you turn the ball over and you let them score to beat you. And that's exactly what he did. So, anyway.
All right, let's move on. We're going to skip Tennessee. We'll come back to Tennessee and Florida Atlantic to close this segment. But I want to move on to the last game of the night on Thursday night. And to me, it's the most up-and-down game, highest total. Gonzaga is a scoring machine. UCLA can answer them. Gonzaga, right. UCLA, 145 total. UCLA, a 1.5 favorite. I love Drew Timme.
I do too.
But how does UCLA attack him was our question of the night. How do you get him defensively?
Well, man, here, if I'm coaching against Drew Timme, I'm playing him straight up. I'm taking my best post defender and I'm playing him. Because, man, Gonzaga has shooters. If you double team this guy, he knows how to pass the ball. He knows how to pass out of double teams. And then is your defense going to be able to rotate, recover quick enough to stop those other guys from shooting their threes or making their drives or cutting to the basket? So you're going to have to pick something right here. You're going to have to pick your poison playing Gonzaga and how you guard him. He's crafty, man. I mean, he has moves. He can step out and shoot the mid-range. He can even step out and shoot the three. He's not a volume three-point shooter, but he can do that. And he's good enough with the ball to go past people. But I don't think I'd double team him. And I know UCLA, they've had the luxury, well, I don't know if you call it luxury, but they've had the opportunity to play against him a few times here the last few years. So they ought to have some type of familiarity to it. Hopefully they've been in the film room and they've been trying to see what his tendencies are, a little bit closer. But I would play him straight up, man. I wouldn't gimmick him. I wouldn't double team him. I would just try to say, you do what you got to do. If you can beat us, fine. But we're going to try to take away everybody else.
That is hilarious. You brought that up. I did look. They played them the last 2 years in a row. So this team has seen Drew Timme quite a bit. I do like UCLA's athleticism. Here's what I was thinking about Drew Timme, and I've probably watched him play 3 times this year. It's like I'm no expert on Drew Timme, but if you take him scoring away from you, if you really try to, when he touches the ball in the post, double down on him, all that stuff, it does open up something. He's not a big man with the basketball in his hand. He can find an open man. He can you open the three up. He can feed it. You hit it underneath. It's back out. There's a lot of options once he touches the basketball. Right. And the way Gonzaga plays, man, they play with a lot of continuity. They know where these guys. He knows where his teammates are going to be. He knows. I mean, man, they execute. I mean, at a high level, and a lot of it's because of what he brings to the floor. Few's a great coach, man, and I'm telling you right now, Gonzaga is my pick for tonight. Let me ask you a question, and I think I'm going to go there too. I'm torn on this game. How good is Drew Timme at the next level, at the NBA?
I think Drew Timme, I think he's definitely an NBA player, but I think he is a role player at the next level. He's a guy that they're going to be able to count on to get some boards and get some easy baskets, make some passes. But I don't know that I don't think his game translates into like star power, but I do think he's going to be a very effective player at the next level.
Okay, that's good analysis.
Right, and one of the reasons that I'm picking Gonzaga tonight is because I cannot stand Tiger Campbell's hair. UCLA.
That is some bad hair, isn't it? Oh man. Let's go ahead and let's look at the rest of how that'll round out. Let's see, can we the UConn Arkansas winner get the UCLA Gonzaga winner, and what we have there is UConn versus the Zags. I know it's too early to really do a breakdown, but what's your gut saying that Elite Eight, just if you were going to pick it and do a bracket?
I'm going with Gonzaga, man.
Okay.
I know that, that's probably not really pop, but I'm going with them.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's popular because
right.
I definitely have struggled with my picks to this point. So we'll get there. Now let's circle back just a minute. I got out of order a little bit. I wanted to take plenty of time and talk about Florida Atlantic and Tennessee. And the first question, I have a question of the game, but I don't want to ask you that yet. I'm just going to ask you, how well has Tennessee adjusted in this tournament to losing Zakai Ziegler, and that Vescovi and Meshack has been able to pick up minutes? I thought Tennessee may be out the first round, but especially against Duke, they got good point guard play, not necessarily flashy good point guard play, but they didn't turn football over or basketball over.
Well, I thought, I thought they'd win the first game. I picked them to win the first game, but I did think that Duke would beat them. Not so much because Duke was better, because Tennessee was sliding a little bit.
Yes.
And Duke was actually surging a little bit.
Tennessee lost 6 of the last 10 games they played.
Right. But the thing about it with Tennessee is that Tennessee is very physical, and Duke could not match that physicality. Duke couldn't compete with that. I think that Tennessee is definitely going to be the more physical team now. I think they've came together. I think they found a formula right now to make up for Ziegler, the loss of Ziegler, rather. I think I'm going to tell you who needs to really have a big game for them is Tyreek Key.
Okay.
He seems to come in. I think he makes some plays, and he's had some big games this year, for him. But I think that he's kind of a slept-on type guy since he's a grad transfer. Yeah. I think he can come in and have a big game. I think Tennessee can do this thing. But I picked Memphis over Florida Atlantic also, so I missed out on that one. So Florida Atlantic is actually a good team.
Very athletic.
Mm-hmm. Very athletic. Gets up and down the floor. They can play the game, and Tennessee can't underestimate them, because Tennessee don't want to get into a track meet with these guys. So I think Tennessee grinds it out. I think Tennessee is physical. I think I don't know that Florida Atlantic can keep them off the boards, because I can guarantee you that's the number one thing their coach has been telling them the last few days is we have to keep them off the boards, particularly the offensive boards. And I don't know that they can do that. So I think Tennessee gets another win. I think Tennessee's Elite Eight. I think they are. That's
a good question. Florida Atlantic, they have 4 guys that step on the floor that basically look the same, Roy.
Right.
Is there anything that you can do with that 6'5", 205-pound guy, maybe to generate some offensive rebounds or keep Tennessee off the glass, or is it just got to be efficient shooting?
Well, I mean, they got to shoot the ball well, but you got to have a couple of guys that are willing to just go in there and put their bodies on the line against those guys from Tennessee, because those guys from Tennessee are used to doing that. They're coming in, they're crashing hard, they're coming in to rebound and dunk back over you. Whatever they got to do, they're going to do it. But Florida Atlantic has to have those guys to just step up and say, hey, tonight I'm looking for somebody to put my body on. After every shot Tennessee takes, I'm going to put my body on somebody and keep them off the glass. You may even – I've coached games, man, where I've had to send 5 people to the glass. We were getting out rebounded so bad. Something you don't always like to do. But these coaches get paid a lot of money to figure this stuff out. I'm sending everybody to the glass, man. I mean, if they can keep Tennessee off the offensive glass, they have got a really good chance to win that game, because Tennessee, I mean, of course, Vescovi, he shoots the ball well.
Yeah.
But they're not overall a really good shooting team. So if they can keep them off the boards, we can see an upset tonight. But I'm saying they're not going to keep them off the boards. I'm saying Tennessee's going to win this one.
And in my keys to the game, I got a little notepad I've kept through all the shows I've done. I wrote down Ty Key, 17 points a game at Indiana State. The kid, if he gets hot, can light it up. And hey, Madison Square Garden, Sweet 16, if you ever have a good shooting night, it's time to have a good shooting night.
It's time. You're right.
So we got Michigan State and the Vols in the Elite Eight, and that's the matchup I'm going to recuse myself because I'm not going to pick Michigan State on this podcast, but just your gut feeling, Michigan State, Tennessee, and the Elite Eight, which way would you go?
Well, I'm going to say this, and I know I'm going to break a lot of hearts. I'm going with Michigan State. I think, that's going to be a grinding out game. That's exactly what that's going to turn into. I think that Izzo is the difference, not to take away from Coach Barnes, because I think he's been around almost as long and he's won a lot of games. But I don't know that he's had the success at this level that Izzo has. And that makes a huge difference. So that's the edge to me. I think Izzo is the edge.
Rick Barnes has been to the Final Four one time with TJ Ford. Matter of fact, he's not had very good success when you get in these elite rounds of it. Take one more pick here, then you have in the Final Four, Zags versus Michigan State. Again, way too early, but what is your gut say?
Zags, man. That's the team that I picked in the beginning to win it all. So I got to stick with them.
All right, let's switch over to Friday. That was some good talk right there. I like Tennessee's chance, and I like Tennessee's bracket, but I think that if it's Kansas State or Michigan State, that's a game Tennessee can lose in a heartbeat or a game Tennessee can win in a heartbeat.
Yeah, at this level, while we're making these picks based on whatever, every team that's in this thing right now has a shot to win it.
Yes.
Let's just be realistic. Even Tennessee, everybody has a shot, and it just depends on how the ball is bouncing that night. Because you don't get this far without having something.
Yeah.
You've got something there, and so that's how I'm looking at that thing.
In my second chance bracket, I had the Vols versus the Zags out to your pick. So where you have what did you have? You had Zags versus Michigan State. We have the same bracket basically. My heart picks the Vols, but I think it's going to be a great tourney and a lot to go. Let's check on over to Friday, and Friday starts with a huge matchup early. The number 1 overall seed, the Alabama Crimson Tide, opens up Friday against San Diego State, a team most people would say is a Cinderella story. San Diego State's a good basketball team. Start there.
Yes, they are. They are a very good team, man. They play some great defense from what I've seen and what I've heard them talk about. They play that sagging man-to-man defense. It's called pack line defense. So with them sagging so much, they're usually good against the drive, but that type of defense can cause you to give up a lot of threes also. So is Alabama going to be raining threes?
That was our question of the game. You just brought it up. How many threes will San Diego State be willing to give up? How long will they stay in that sagging defense? And, Roy, these big arenas are sometimes hard to shoot in. And it wouldn't be the first time you saw a team have a poor shooting night in a big arena.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've seen that many times. And I think now the way here, when I'm coaching, of course, this is a lot lower level than what these guys are coaching. But usually after a team makes 2 on us, we're changing what we do. If they make 2 threes, I'm saying, hey, that's enough. That's enough. We're going to go ahead and we're going to run them off the line, whatever. I don't think that San Diego State will – you want to stick with what's normal. You want to stick with what you've had success with. But when you get to this level, sometimes you have to make a few tweaks. and they may actually come out in something different than the pack line. I mean, it just depends on what they see on film or whatever. Or they may think, hey, well, we can still play them in this type of thing. But like you said, Alabama could very well get into the Madison Square Garden. Or where is that what they're playing?
I don't know where they're at.
Well, anyway, they can, like you said, they can come in there and then they decide, then not shoot the ball well. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think that they'll set up. If Alabama's hot, I think that they'll adjust pretty quickly.
Unfortunately, the story of Darius Miles and the Alabama basketball team, Brandon Miller has been unfortunately lumped into that, or it's just a horrible circumstance. But if we're talking about someone whose game does translate to the next level, I don't know that anybody other than Brandon Miller is the first person off my mind.
That kid is a star at the next level. He's a star at the next level. Definitely. He kind of reminds me of people like Anthony Edwards and those guys that might go in there for the first couple of years. They're going to show great, flashes, but then he's going to explode onto the scene. You see, he has that type of talent.
Yeah.
He has that type of talent, man. You take Alabama, and now they're the number 1 overall seed, and, man, he's a huge part of that. That's just the truth of the matter. He of course is going to have to learn to make some better decisions and who his friends are and that type of thing. But man, that kid, the sky's the limit for him.
Millions to be made in the future for this young man. Change generational money.
Made, man. I hope all these guys are paying attention to what's going on with John Morant right now.
Absolutely.
And because you can lose it at any second, man. Lord blesses us, but he expects us to have some sense about it,
Yeah, when you say generational money, and Shaq talks about it a lot, he has the ability to affect his kids, his grandkids, and his great-grandkids.
That's exactly right, man. Come on. Just do what's right. It's not that hard. It's not that hard.
Alabama comes in as a 7.5-point favorite, total 137.5. Roy, it's hard for me to pick against Alabama right now. We kind of made a case for San Diego State, but at the end of the day, where's your mind at?
Roll Tide, man. Roll Tide.
I don't think I can say that, or they'll take away my university.
You probably can't.
They'll take away my degree, but I agree with you. Matter of fact, I think you're going to hear me talking about Alabama a lot through the next few rounds. But
you probably will be.
Let's go to the next game, and to me, the next game is the true. We talked about guard play a ton. Houston's guards versus Miami. I don't know if there's any bigger position difference in the tournament. Houston is so elite in the backcourt. Sasser and that group. God, they for the people sleeping on Houston, Roy, I'm not shocked if they're holding the trophy at the end of this.
Well, I can tell you, me neither, because I'm going to tell you, they've got a team full of dogs, man. Those dudes will get after you. They kind of remind me a little bit. I don't know if you remember Arkansas back in the day when they had Nolan Richardson. And they had the 40 minutes of hell defense.
Yes, sir.
How those guys were just so, they were just in your face, man. They were just in your face after you the whole game. And Houston kind of reminds me of that. Of course, Miami, Wong, the Isaiah Wong, I think he's their point guard.
Yeah.
He was ACC Player of the Year, I do believe. But man, there's no way I can pick them. Now I can separate hate, like football hate.
Yeah.
Like I'm a Florida State fan, but
you and our friend JT.
I can't deal with Miami on any level.
Yeah.
I have to go get. That's just like you said. It's a heart thing. It's just like, I'm not a Tennessee football fan, but I do like Tennessee basketball.
You can't dislike Rick Barnes.
Yeah.
He's a good man.
I can separate that, but I can't separate Miami on anything. If Miami's in a Tiddlywinks tournament, I gotta go against them.
Well,
that's just it.
You brought up Long, and I think that's a good point. And while I definitely favor Houston's guards, to me it feels like Long is as elite as can be elite, but maybe just a touch under him. Houston has 4 or 5 guys at that level. So it's depth and quantity that Houston has. where
right.
Long is elite. I mean, God, he's a player. Hey, number one seed in the ACC, Miami.
Right. I mean, like I said, I hate to give Miami any type of credit, but Miami runs some similar stuff to Gonzaga. They run a lot of screens. Gonzaga has that screen and roll offense, which I know because my team runs that. I stole that from Gonzaga years ago.
Good coach.
And it's effective, but Miami runs something similar to that. But Houston is really good at hedging on the screens and showing. I don't know if you know what that means, but that means that they step out and they keep the guy from penetrating, and then they force him back, and then they switch back to their own man. It's if Miami can weather that storm, and if they can find a way to get Wong in the paint and make some plays, I think that they would have a chance. I don't really think that they will. I don't know that. I just don't know if they're talented enough to beat Houston. I don't know. I hope it's a 50-point game. It won't be, but I hope it is.
Well, so far in this bracket, we're 2 for 2. I don't think we've disagreed on any single point in this bracket. The next game to me seems like a fun game, and it's a game that I'm going to watch Tennessee, and let's be honest, I'll probably watch every one of these games. But I have special interest in this game just because I want to see Princeton on this stage.
Hey, I agree.
This is not the Princeton team we saw a few years ago that run backdoor cuts and did this, and kind of gimmick it their way in. This is a good basketball team and a good coach basketball team.
Right. Well, Princeton, in the past, like you said, it was. I don't know if you would call it gimmicky, but the thing with them, they ran that backdoor offense, and it was precision. It didn't matter who they played; they would backdoor you to death. I mean, they would move the ball around until they got what they wanted, and they would get layups. The scores would be low. I mean, they would run the clock down, like I said, late into the shot clock, but they would get the shots they want. But these guys that they have now, I mean, they got size, they got shooters, they've got players.
That's absolutely the truth. I enjoyed watching Princeton the first 2 rounds. Now I was watching one of the Fox Sports South, one of them this morning, and one of the announcers said the word mid-major and then referred to Creighton. And the other announcer said Creighton quit being mid-major about 10 years ago.
And that's true.
Creighton is as elite as elite, talent, top 100 top players.
Right.
What do you see as Creighton's strength going into this game?
Man, well, the big guy that they got inside is pretty tough, man.
I can't say his name, but Ryan, big guy, 7'1".
I know his name starts with a K.
I'm gonna try it one time. Calabrans.
There's something like that, yeah. But he's pretty good on both ends. I mean, he's not just like a super dominant guy, but I mean, he's somebody to be reckoned with. And what can they do with him? That's the question. I mean, Creighton, man, they shoot the ball well. I mean, it's just I think that's going to be a really good game, man. I almost want to pick Princeton.
Well, I was going to say I like the 10 points, and I like the 10 points in Princeton a whole lot. Princeton center Tucson is 5 inches shorter than Creighton center. So yeah, to your point.
Right. I mean, that's a huge advantage. I mean, that's almost half a foot. And I mean, and if I'm not mistaken, the guy from Creighton was like Defensive Player of the Year in his league.
Yes.
So that you don't just get that award. I mean, that shows me that the guy he can play some D, and he's blocking some shots. And the thing about it is, is Princeton going to be intimidated? No, I don't think so. I don't think you come this far and then you fall prey to being intimidated. I think at this point everybody is on that level of confidence. Hey, we're here, and so we're going after you. And just as a Cinderella pick, I'm picking Princeton.
Just
to say, hey, I'm just to say I might be wrong, but I'm going to go with them just to kind of throw my good vibes toward them.
Well, I picked Creighton, but I'm doing a bracket where you pick the point spreads, and I took 10 points in Princeton the whole day. So I don't know how you don't take that. Let's get to the last Sweet 16 matchup on the Friday setup, and it's two teams that's just got, Texas is so athletic.
Oh, yeah. Indeed.
Xavier is super athletic, but they don't have the depth that Texas does, Roy.
Right. And that's going to play into it because, at tournament time, man, your bench gets shorter for most people. I think Xavier, they had played more people during the season, but I think as tournament time got here, they have just basically have a 7-man rotation.
Yeah.
And that is going to come into play when they play against Texas, who is probably, about 10 deep.
Yeah. Second deepest team in the tournament to me.
Right. That's going to be I have to go with Texas there. I just do. I don't know that Xavier, you want to see, Miller pull that thing off, but I just don't think he will. Last year, and like I said, this is just my team. We took 6 players to the national tournament down in Orlando. Man, our two best scorers couldn't even go. So we're taking 6 players, and we played 11 games down there. And man, surprisingly we went 7-4, but we lost most of our games at the end when our kids didn't have any legs left because we got pressed from the start to the finish. And with that rotation and with the physicality of these NCAA games, then that's going to wear on Xavier playing lesser players. So
I agree.
It's no load management right now.
Well, we got a comment coming in from our friend Robbie Davis, who does a lot of the basketball on here with me. Robbie, on his way in the morning to Madison Square Garden to watch the balls, his comment on Princeton was, "Great story. Just thinks it comes to the end at this level." And I if somebody tells me the end, I'm not shocked, but I wanted to get that in. I agree with you on Xavier in Texas. I want to jump over to something real fast and maybe pull some experience out of you. If in the perfect world you're taking the Force Elite where they've got to play all weekend, maybe 3 games, not just 2, on a weekend or 4 games, how many bodies do you like to look down the bench and see? Is it 8? Is it 9? Or are you just concerned with everybody on that bench can play?
Well, man, what I try to do when we start with our tryouts or when I'm recruiting, I try to have 10 solid players if I can. I want to look down because the thing about it is the way we play, you're going to probably have 3 games in one day. I mean, those things happen. And so when I'm looking down at my bench, man, I want to look out and see, okay, when I take this one out and I put this one in, I'm not really losing anything. That's the type of players that I look for. I mean, I look, of course, kids with high character and with skill, but I also look for toughness and that type of thing and how they're going to just mesh together but I'm always looking for a player that I love the 3. I love the 3. We shoot a lot of 3s. But I'm looking for that to see, hey, when I take this player out, I'm going to replace her with a player that's just as good as she is.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for because it's when we went last year and I'm looking down the bench and I see one player that I'm having to sub. I mean, you're having to rest somebody every 3 to 4 minutes. Nobody's getting a really good rest and everybody's going back in expected to play at a high level, and that's what we did last year. And the wonderful thing about it, before we went, it was like we had our last practice and I was telling the girls, I said, listen, if I'm coaching against y'all, we've got 6 players. I'm pressing you from the minute we start every game. The game starts to the game ends, I'm pressing you. And they're like, Coach, we got it. Don't worry. We got it. And, man, our first few games, they definitely had it. Because, man, we were wearing people out. We won our first game by 20 points, man. And the girls were running our fast break, man. They were getting up and down the floor. I'm like, man, what's this? you know, I was trying to, you know, slow the pace up, but man, they were hitting our fast break and they were just getting out and scoring. And I was like, man, I think I've taught these girls a little bit too good. No, man, it was all them, but they had their minds made up, man. And then we just hit the wall, and they just didn't have any more to give. I mean, we were down there for 8 days, man.
Yeah,
and it was
I remember your post, and you were really proud of that team. You were super proud of that team.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I've had so many good teams, but that team, they just scrapped, man, and they were determined to show me that they belong down there. I mean, we left 40 points a game at home. I mean, yeah, I mean, both those girls were averaging 20 points, man, and those were our two big scorers. But the other girls stepped it up, and they showed me something. I had, you know, one kid that I've been on about her defense the whole season, and man, she played unbelievable defense down there. And I was like, wow.
Ain't it nice when you challenge them and you see something?
Right. It is. And she just stepped up. They all stepped up, man. And they were able to show me, hey, man, yeah, we want this thing. And you know, I've won that Nike National before, and that team was just super talented. We had 12 players, man, top to bottom, super talented.
And I think all 12 of them went to college too.
Right. Oh, every one of them went to college to play ball. Yeah.
And,
this group that I had here, man, they were young and nowhere near as talented as that group was. But man, they just dug it in. They dug in, and you know, it just shows you something about the human spirit, man, and what we're capable of doing if we just really want to.
I'm with you. I am with you. That is such a message right now. If we need to grab that message. I'm telling you, that's beautiful, Roy.
Well, I appreciate that, but those girls, man, they did it, man. You know, like I said, they said, "Coach, we got it."
Hey, and so I'm gonna have to go sideways a little bit, but I am, because you know I've done high school sports on the radio 30 years, and occasionally you just seen something on the field, and you know it's a kid playing above their level, and I don't know if my favorite moments in the last 30 years hadn't been a kid that's worked hard, that achieves above the level that his talent probably has been at.
Oh yeah. That's the best. That's the best thing we'll ever see or feel, man. I'll tell you. I've got a girl playing college right now who was told by her high school coach that, or her middle school coach, she would never be good enough to play college ball.
That's awesome.
She ends up starting for her last 2 years of high school for a state tournament team, and then starting in college. And so I'm like, man, you know, just keep giving. As a coach, I'd never fix my mouth to tell a player they would never do something. I'd never do that. Some coaches out there just that way, but she showed everybody. And, man, I just don't know. You know, every time I talk to her now, and she calls me all the time, it's just, you know, thank Coach for believing in me. I said, no, it wasn't me. You was determined. You wasn't going to let that happen.
Thank God. Thank God for her. Yes. All right, let's jump over to this bracket. You and I have a difference here, a small one. We both have Bama. I have Creighton, and you have Princeton. Anybody, Creighton or Princeton, going to challenge the Alabama Crimson Tide?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I think the other side of it's an intriguing matchup, and it's going to take place. It's an old Southwest Conference rivalry. And it's Houston trying to get back to Houston to play in the Final Four. Texas versus Houston. What a game that could be.
Right. That could be one heck of a game right there, man. That could be.
We failed to mention.
But I would have to go with Houston.
You're going to go with Houston. And we failed to mention maybe one of the better stories of this tournament is Calvin Sampson. Kind of getting in respect, and he never forgot how to coach basketball, and these alumni fire him and jerk him out of his job. But Calvin Sampson's always been able to coach basketball.
He was good at Oklahoma. He's good at Indiana. He's good everywhere he's been.
Absolutely. Then you set up with a Houston versus Alabama, which is my bracket. And I think if they were on opposite side bracket, this would be. I believe that's how it breaks down. Let me make sure. Houston, Alabama. Because it would be somehow I don't think that's right. I think that's I believe I have Houston and Alabama in the finals, so that would be the winner of the UConn, Arkansas, UCLA, Gonzaga playing that Final Four, because my final game is Houston and Alabama. Let me go out just a little bit.
Okay.
Let me see what I got. So Texas and Houston in the well, you know what, it's right, because that would be the final game. So I think we both have the final game of Alabama versus Houston. I think that's the way it breaks down.
Right. Well, I've actually been. I honestly had Gonzaga winning it all.
Okay, I've got it wrong then. So Gonzaga beats Alabama. Your final game is Gonzaga versus Houston.
Yes.
All right, I got it now.
I hate to say that, man, but I'm telling you, that's just how I feel. I just think they're due, man. They've been nipping at at the heels for so long. They're just due.
Do you think Mark Few needs this?
No, I think he's set. I mean, he may need it for himself personally, but he's not leaving. He's already shown he's never leaving Gonzaga. I mean, he's turned down big offers from other places, and he just feels so at home there, and he's basically king there. They're not going to fire him. I mean, he's gonna be able to retire there. So I think he's like, hey, I can get it done from here. So.
All right, I made a slight mistake. I want to correct it. Your bracket then, if you've got Gonzaga, would be beating Houston, because on the other side it would be Houston and Gonzaga, and on the other side we had Alabama and Michigan State. So Houston, Gonzaga, you're going to take Gonzaga over Houston.
I'm taking Gonzaga over Houston.
Final game then is Gonzaga versus Alabama. And
versus Alabama, yep.
Are you picking Gonzaga?
I'm picking Gonzaga.
Again,
that's who I picked, man. At the beginning, on day one, it was Gonzaga. That's who I picked to win it all.
So my bracket's just a little different. My final game is I have Houston and Alabama, and I have Alabama winning the national championship, Roy. I just think Brandon Miller is such an athlete. He is. I think he can dominate a Final Four on a level that we haven't seen in a while.
Right. Now I'm gonna tell you what. Now, honestly, that could happen. That could happen. I just feel like it's Gonzaga's time. We're gonna see. But I what you said just very well could happen. I mean, Alabama is probably gonna be the pick for everybody.
It is.
And I'm just going against the grain a little bit right here, but that's what I see. Actually, me and Coach Rakoski from Brown College, he's really good friends with Nate Oates, the Alabama coach.
Uh-huh.
And so we had a discussion. He's real high on Alabama, of course, since him and Coach Oates are friends. But and he's got that program rolling. But I'm going with the Zags, man. Going with the Zags.
I'm sorry for everybody. I didn't go all the way out to the final game, so I got my bracket confused there at the end. But we got it straight at the end. Roy's got Alabama versus Gonzaga. I've got Alabama versus Houston. I've got Alabama winning it. Roy's got Gonzaga winning it. I think that's going to be a fun tournament either way. But Roy, we've got 5 more minutes before we get out of here. I want to take a minute and talk about Force Elite basketball and what people can do to help you and where you're at in your season.
Okay. Well, we're just now getting started. We're starting training camp. With the Force, we've got 2 Tennessee Force high school teams. We have our Tennessee Force Select and our Tennessee Force Elite. Our Select team, they play more local tournaments. They're mostly younger girls. Of course, in our organization, we've got like 10 teams. We've got high school boys, and we got middle school, 5th grade boys, and we got that all in girls too. So our organization is set to reach out to any kid that wants to play ball at whatever age, 5th grade and 4th grade and up. I'm sorry. But with Force Elite, what I try to do with that team is an exposure team. and we go to a lot of the big events across the country for girls, where college coaches, they're allowed to watch you play in July. So we go to those events and we play in front of college coaches to give them a chance to be seen.
Right.
I don't promise any kid anything. I said I'm gonna try to put you in the best possible light that I can. After that, it's up to you. I don't promise, hey, I'm gonna get you here, I'm gonna get you there, I'm gonna help you get there, however much you let me help you. But it's up to you to put the work in. See, we're just starting right now, so we're every Saturday right now. We're getting together. We're training. We're learning how to shoot better. We're learning how to defend better. We're learning how to just come together as a team. We do a lot of team things. Like eating together and doing stuff like that. So that chemistry just starts falling into place, because when you go to these tournaments, you're going to be playing against some great players, and we believe in team ball. We don't go to showcase our team. What we do is we go to play as a team. We don't. When I say we do go to showcase our team, but we don't go to showcase individuals. Mm-hmm. That's not our game plan. Now, you can play against a lot of teams, and you can see that this one player may take 100 shots on another team. I know it's a little bit exaggerating on that, but I'm just using that as an example. Yeah, they're there to be seen from themselves. They don't care about their team. But I try to get our girls to understand, when a coach is watching you, they're not watching to see how many points you score. They want to know if you can play. And so let's go out there and show them that we can play, because that's going to get you into college better than anything, just knowing how to play the game. When you get to college, everybody can score. Mm-hmm. That's most everybody, when you go to college, that was a leading scorer in their high school team, Yep. We want more than that. We want defenders. We want passers. We want kids that can understand the game, kids that understand tempo, kids that understand, who has a better shot, what shot selection is. Because I can have a girl that averages 30 points a game if she shoots 50 times a game.
That's right.
But if I've got several people averaging double figures and they're taking 15 shots a game and they're making more than half of them, that's telling that coach, hey, that kid takes good shots. They don't take a lot of messed up shots. They take good shots within the offense, and they shoot a high percentage, so this kid knows how to play.
Roy, one question I want to throw out to you, and we've talked about it in the past. I think you do an amazing job with the local JUCOs and getting girls opportunities and boys opportunities at that level. Is that something that often gets overlooked, and you just have those connections? Or
yeah, it does, and we get a lot of kids to the 4-year schools too. But a lot of times, man, a kid has the wrong idea about the JUCOs, and because they've never been really educated on it. They'll look at a JUCO, and then a lot of people think it's a glorified high school. No, that's not true. A lot of times you go to, let's say, Walter State, for example, and up in Morristown, they are always usually stocked with Division I players, and they have kids that may or may not have made the grades they needed to make in high school, or some type of other issue they may have had, but they have the talent is there. A lot of times you can take a team from a school like Walter State, and you can beat a 4-year institution. Yeah. With those players, because that's how loaded they are. And so I try to get our kids to take advantage of, like, hey, you might need a little more seasoning, okay? Or you may not have got the offer that you wanted from a 4-year school. So let's go here and let's see if you can't get here and get a little more polishing. Get some more college games under your belt. And then in 2 years you'll be able to reopen your recruitment, and you may be able to go to that one school that you're shooting for. So. There's a lot of good that comes from that, and people don't need to sleep on JUCO, because there are a lot of great players that come from JUCO.
And Roy, it's not even the kids' fault sometimes. I think they get punished because of the level of competition. And I'm in the Sequatchie Valley, and my district is Giles County and Watertown, and it's not necessarily that if you're a college recruit that every night you're going to line up against somebody. If you were playing at McGovern or a Baylor or a Macaulay or even a Brainerd, you're just not going to see that quality of athlete in that district.
Right. That's true. And, a lot of kids fall through, fall through the cracks because a lot of times they're in obscurity. They don't know about this kid. And I've taken kids to different coaches for like a play day, or I've called a coach, say, look at some film on this kid, and they'll be like, wow, we didn't even know nothing about him, and so that's what it is we try to do, man, is give a kid a chance to get their foot in the door somewhere, get their education, play ball, and get their life going the right way. It's there are a lot of colleges out there, and there's a lot of opportunities out there, but like you said, you can't put all of the high school coaches in the same box. There's a lot of high school coaches that probably don't do their due diligence as far as trying to help their kids get to the next level. But then again, there are a lot of college coaches that do that. I think a lot of high school coaches that do. I think as a high school coach, that should be one of the things that you are really trying to do, is trying to help your kids get to that next level.
And you can tell in football, it's almost, you can tell the coaches that really have a passion for trying to get that film out and doing that. But Roy, we're at a 1 hour mark. I could go another hour just talking about Force Elite, but we kind of tentatively planned to be back for the Final Four, and I think we'll be back next week, and we'll reset that Final Four and have a little more discussion about it.
So I'm looking forward to it, man.
Me too, man. Me too. A couple old codgers that still love college basketball.
Right, man. And I'll tell you, brother, it's just fun to watch. It's exciting, and it's even more fun when the team you pick wins.
Yeah. So. Well, and I'm just, I'm 56 years old, Roy, and I love college basketball. And I'm always known a little more as a football guy because I've done a lot more football broadcast over the years than I have basketball. But the University of Tennessee has been to one Elite Eight in my lifetime. So this is a big deal to me. It's my school playing for some place we've never been before. So
right. And I'm going to tell you, man, don't be surprised if they don't end up in the Final Four. I didn't pick them, but I'm going to tell you, don't be surprised.
And I said that Tennessee versus Alabama in the Final Four would be the most watched basketball game in the Southeast in history, but we'll see if it gets there. Oh
my gosh, would it ever?
Yeah.
Well, next year in football, that's going to be the most watched game ever, probably.
Absolutely. But we'll be back next week to reset the Final Four. We'll see if the Zags are still alive for Coach Pankey, and we'll see how my picks went. But we'll check you next week on River City Media, the Bracket Buster Final Four, and we'll talk a little more with Coach Pankey. Roy, you got any words to close tonight?
I just want to say it, man. I've had a great time talking to you, and to everybody out there, we appreciate it. Hey, remember, Jesus loves you all. That's it. That's all I got to say.
Amen, brother. We'll see y'all next week.
All right. Take care, brother.
Take care, Roy. Hang on just a second.
I got you.